Hey, it's Chris, Liege Games. We're going to talk about Paint the Roses today. Northstar Games, Ben Goldman's baby, 2 to 5 players, cooperative deduction style board game set in Wonderland, if you will, where you are trying to avoid getting your head chopped off via deduction? Let's talk. Is it right for you? What do you need to know? This is the deluxe version. I'll talk a little bit about that. Was it worth it? Where do I think things are? What would my recommendation be for you if you're looking at this either as a yay or a nay? Help you decide whether or not this game is right for you. Let's do this. So first off, when we talk about Paint the Roses, I mean, this was a crowdfunding game. This was a deluxified version of a game that really didn't have a whole lot of exclusive content, but you're going to get it at a little bit cheaper price potentially, plus or minus shipping. And so, it's one of those where you're sort of rolling the dice. Do I want the deluxe version? Do I not? Is it worth it or is it not? This is one of those rubber meets the road situations. How do I feel about it after having my hands on it, playing through it, and just getting a chance to experience the deluxifications? Because deluxifications can make you go either way, right? You have your bullet hearts where you just love those cardboard pieces, or you have your metal coins. And if you watched my channel before, you know how I feel about metal coins, where, the gameplay deluxifications sometimes are great and sometimes kind of make you go, I paid extra for this. So let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about what you need to know, and let's go through a few points of this game. So here in front of me, you can kind of see the sample of the board with the inlay, and that's very, very nice for putting these little hexagonal tiles in there. But you also see the insert, the deluxifications that it came with. You can see the style that it's set up with, and you can kind of see, okay, it's sort of like a buffet platter, if you will. You get to take that off, and it's all splayed out there just like one of those fancy fruit plates, right? And this looks so beautiful, but I'll tell you, just from the get-go, I'm a little bit annoyed by the insert. I think the insert is very beautiful to look at, but it serves more of a design beautification rather than a direct functionality, because if you look underneath this, they have these individual little ridges and slots in here that make it a little bit hard to get them back in exactly where you need to sometimes. And I mean, it fits in nicely there, but these are sort of there and you're kind of like, oh geez. The other thing I don't understand is, I know Northstar Games, you want to promote yourself, but I don't really need Northstar on the back of every single tile. It gives me sort of the real estate card vibe, where somebody hands out their card and it's like got their name all over it on like 4 different sides of the card. So I just, if I'm going to pay for extra nice stuff, I don't really want a whole bunch of wording on it. I'm a minimalist. So an extra just red backing on there would have been great from that standpoint. So I would have actually preferred that, because it just, I don't know, it feels a little gaudy to me to put your name on every single chip in that sense. So the other point here is, I'm going to pull this out for a second and, put this over here. And so you can kind of see what we've got going on underneath here. And what we've got going on underneath here, if I actually pull it in the right direction, again, you've got these loose chips right here. You've got these loose tokens, the cards, and some of this stuff fits very nicely because this is, covering it. But some of the corner stuff, kind of this stuff falls out if you turn the box at all sideways. And so that makes storage a pain sometimes, because I don't want to store my games this way sometimes. I want to store them this way because you can see behind me, I don't have a ton of room. I want more room for my games. And if I have to store certain games like that because the components aren't going to stay in the places, I mean, that's a little bit frustrating at times, especially when I pay extra for a deluxe insert. That just has to be said as a side note before we actually talk about the gameplay. Now, some of this, granted, is part of the expansions that came with the gameplay, so you have it all in one box. Take that for what you will. So, it's a thing I'm going to put out there as you may need to know. So here's somewhat of what the basic setup looks like. Now, this isn't exact. I just kind of threw this out there for example sake. And so what you're going to be doing is you have these tiles in the center here. And you'll notice that they all have a flower, which is colored, a certain color. And then there's also one of the 4 different card suits that goes along with each of them. And so what you're going to be having to do is each turn, you are going to be acquiring one of these cards. And these cards are going to give you matching whatever they may be. Either color, suit, color suit. And so you're going to be trying to have other people guess which one is yours. So then on your turn, all you're doing is you draw one of these tiles right here, one of these tiles, and you get to place it down, say over here. And you get to then take one of your little color cubes and say, hey guys, guess what? I just placed that tile there and my tile matches this one time with what's out there. Now, in this example, this doesn't match anything, but that can be there. Here, let's make a better example here. Let's draw this pink. And so pink is next to pink. This is worth 2 spaces, you can see on the lower right-hand corner. And so I draw this tile. Oh, look, it's a pink heart. So then I place it right here because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to tell my partners that, hey guys, this in some way with the new tile that is placed down there is going to match the card that I have. But the question now to the players I'm playing with is, well, this one matches this one in some way with the card he has. So is it heart to diamond or is it pink to pink? Because those are your 2 options. Now, it could be something different in this one, but in the easy ones, as it says here, this is only color to color. In the mediums, color to color, shape to shape. In the hard ones, it can be any of the 3 combinations that I mentioned earlier, the color, shape, shape, or color to shape. So it could have been, if this one would have gone here, it could be heart to spade, pink to red, or it could be actually one of 4, I guess. Pink to spade, red to heart. And so those are the 4 different aspects, and you're trying to socially deduct because the other interesting aspect of this is, and this is the make it or break it biggest point I will tell you right now, is not only do I place one of my cubes down there when I play, everyone else takes a look at their card and they go, hey, does my card match that? If their card matches that in some way too, then they put one down. And you could be potentially putting down that many in a turn. However, you could also run into this. Let's say you have a red. This is not pink, but this is red. So then I can tell people that, okay, this is a club, this is a spade, this is a heart. But if I'm trying to tell people which one it actually is, well, then I put 2 down, and you can tell people there's 2 matches that I have with this one. Well, it's not a club to a spade. It had to be a club to a spade there then. But this is red to red and red to red. So that's the social deduction aspect of things that you're trying to get other people to tease out. And you need to pay attention on every single little freaking turn. This is not a drunk beer and pretzels game. This is an intense game of scrutiny, deduction, and hopefully not making mistakes, because if you make a mistake in this game, it is not going to forgive you and you could potentially lose that easily. Now, the second take-home point is, well, the easy ones, the medium ones, the hard ones. So you're looking at this going, Chris, well, why does that even matter? Why would I not take anything that's not going to be super easy all the time? Because you'll notice in the lower right-hand corner there, in these cards, you'll see that they have just a 2 in them. And so that's how many spaces your characters move forward on the board when you're doing them. So I grab my little player character here and I move it 2 spaces forward. Now, why does that matter? It's because if we miss on every single turn as well, the queen is going to move forward, and the queen moves forward, and if she ever passes us or meets us, we lose. That's why that's important. So you're going to have to take some of the harder stuff, because the harder stuff will allow you to move further faster, because she's going to be moving automatically a certain number of spaces, and she moves double the spaces if you mess up. Now, if she passes this other little white guy that's sitting on the board next to him, that's the white rabbit. You can't really tell that it's a white rabbit, but believe me, it's a white rabbit. And so once she passes the white rabbit, she gets to add one of these little roses underneath her character. And there are 4 of them that she's going to be adding. And so then each time she passes the white rabbit, she goes faster passively. So at the beginning of the game, she goes 2 spaces, then 3 spaces, then 4 spaces, then 5 spaces, then 6 spaces, no matter what. So she could potentially go 12 spaces if you mess up at the end of the game. So you need to stay ahead of her until you fill all the spaces. That's when you win. Sounds easy, right? It is terribly difficult in terms of concentration. If you have a group, and this is probably the biggest take-home point that I mentioned just a second ago, if you have a group that is not going to be as careful in terms of laying these cubes down or paying attention to, the differences between these tiles, it's not going to work well for your group. Your group is going to get frustrated more than it is going to like it. But if you have a group that is an attention to detail group, a very deductive group, a very strategic, tactically based group in terms of just what this is offering, I mean, this is what I wanted out of Search for Planet X. That is the direct comparison I will make. I thought Search for Planet X was a very, very, very well put together, incredibly dry deduction game. I think this one, as a cooperative instead of competitive, flips it on its head, makes it that much more enjoyable, creates much more of a fun, dynamic atmosphere, because Search for Planet X was almost like what people say about Splendor. It's multiplayer solitaire. Everyone just kind of sits there silently and does their own thing because that's what they do in Search for Planet X. This is a deduction, talk, banter back and forth. What do you think about this one? What do you think about this one? The other big take home that you have to think about in terms of strategy for this game, because it requires strategy. Now, you may be only thinking about my card, your own card. And if you do that, I guarantee you're going to lose most of the games that you play. If you don't start trying to deduce what other people's cards are on your turn, trying to figure out those more than your own, because your own, you already know what yours is. You can help people figure out yours, but you need to help other people figure out to get a turn or two ahead of the queen because of how fast she's going to be moving. And if you don't, like I said, that's going to be it. It's going to be it for you. So what are my final thoughts here? I think this is absolutely the best deduction game on the market. I like this significantly better than Search for Planet X, as I just stated. If you have any interest in an actual deductive game that is not social, that is not just randomly throwing stuff out, that sort of loses the actual meaning of deduction, I think you have to give this one a chance. Now, do you need the deluxifications? I'm a little bit mixed on them. Now, like I said, I don't really like the insert. I think it's more pretty, and I feel like I could also take up half the space with this game, even with all the components included. And that's a tough thing for me. At least with some of the other deluxifications that I've gotten in the past, it doesn't increase box size, and it doesn't increase the difficulty in storage. And that's sort of what this does a little bit in terms of, as a stuff I mentioned. So, is it a great game? Yes, it's absolutely a great game, but only if you meet those specific criteria. If you have a loosey-goosey, half paying attention, people that aren't gonna, totally follow the rules and pay attention very closely on a turn-by-turn basis, this game is going to fall incredibly, incredibly flat with you. But it's not because of the design aspect, it's because of the group dynamic that you need to be aware of. And you need to know who you're going to be playing with, because this is not going to be a hit across all crowds. You will otherwise lose very quickly, and you are not handheld in this game in any way whatsoever. But if you're looking for the exact opposite experience, top down, best deduction game I've played. So if you have any interest in it, definitely check it out. I'm assuming it's going to come to retail in a Lex Deluxe, potentially more price efficient manner. So if those details aren't important to you and you don't care about some of the extra deluxified things that I mentioned, I haven't even talked about the expansions. I'm not going to do that in this video at all, but you can check those out as well. This is an all-in-one, but you could probably get it separately to figure out whether or not you need those extras as well, or if the base is enough for you because of just the sheer possibilities with the 4 different colors and 4 different card suits without any other additional little modular expansions. So that is Paint the Roses. Let me know what you think. Is that interesting to you? Do you like that sort of thing? Are you looking for something else like this? Is this your vibe at all from a cooperative aspect? It's definitely unlike anything else I've played out there from a cooperative deduction side of things. So if you have interest, definitely check it out, give it some thought, and, support publishers that make games like this in the first place. So that's all I got. And no, this was not provided for me. This was a crowdfunded back for me as an individual backer. So just full disclaimer there. There you go. Stay classy. Thanks for watching. Thumb it if you like it. Subscribe if you want. There's more like this where it comes from. Have a great day. See you around.